Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. I hope all is well, and I want to thank you guys so much for tuning into my latest video that was on the Oklahoma City Thunder. If you want to check out that video, I'll leave the link down below in the description, or you could just check out my channel and click that subscribe button if you love the game of basketball. That is why I'm called the Hoop Addict, because I'm addicted to the game of basketball. I'm constantly thinking about it. If I just wake up in the morning, I'm at work, I'm just heavily invested in watching basketball, watching these upcoming younger prospects coming out of college. Even though I'm not heavily invested into college, I watch the top prospects. I'm not that die-hard or a hardcore fan of them, but sometimes I get invested into it, sometimes I don't. It depends what teams are on television. But there's a team out there in the NBA world that I feel like isn't getting enough coverage of the direction they're moving in, and I don't think they're going to be good, but I feel like there's a huge mystery, not when it comes to their success, but when it comes to their young core. There's a couple pieces that I do like, but besides that, I do think there's a mystery, and it's the San Antonio Spurs. I'm not expecting them to be good. I actually think they're going to be in the Victor Wembanyama, Scoot Henderson sweepstakes. I think they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league, but I do think they're going to be fun to watch when it comes to a young core perspective, because we don't really know what to expect. Maybe most of these prospects don't really pan out the first year. I'm not saying I'm going to label them bust after the first year, because there's a huge adjustment period, not when it just comes to the speed of the NBA or just like having your moves be efficient or effective versus NBA defenses, but just also adapting to the mental part of the game, just like being able to realize what moves work versus like certain teams, or certain mismatches out there on the basketball floor. So when you take a look at the San Antonio Spurs, we're unsure if this is Greg Popovich's last season officially. It may end up being his last season, and again, maybe I said that the Spurs weren't going to be good, but I feel like they're still going to be competitive within games because they still do have Greg Popovich at the helm. But I think that it's going to be an adjustment period of maybe they'll win some games more towards the tail end of the season because they learn how to win games throughout experiences. But the main guy that I really like when it comes to San Antonio Spurs roster is Keldon Johnson. He went on to get that $80 million extension, and I actually thought that was a steal because I feel like he's the recipe of success for today's NBA. So $80 million, some people like pay attention to contracts like crazy and nitpick them. I'm not personally that person, except when it comes to my New York Knicks maybe, because I'm very tough on my New York Knicks when I'm really thinking about it. But if Keldon Johnson you think's that valuable to your team, you pay him. You can't afford to let him walk in the future. And the Spurs are just a smart organization like that. And I liked him coming out of Kentucky. I thought he made a huge leap when it's come to his years in the NBA, being drafted in 2019. He averaged like nearly exactly 17 points per game. He's an unorthodox player, just at 6'5", but he plays the power forward position. But he's so strong that he does a really good job positioning himself on the boards, and he's very good mechanics when it comes to beyond the arc. A much improved 3-point shooter. He was one of the most efficient 3-point shooters in basketball. He plays with a relentless motor. He's a very solid athlete, and it just seems like he's a humble, hard worker as well, and he gives it his all out there on the defense side of the basketball. I'm excited to see what his role is going to be with the Spurs this upcoming season, because he's going to be in that number one option type of role because DeJounte Murray's not going to be here, and I feel like there's less pressure for him to really just like put this team or franchise on his back because not many people are expecting him to be great. And I feel like the Spurs never really get hype or anything like that unless you think about the Tim Duncan days. But I don't know. I feel like they're always the under the radar, not flashy team, but they get the job done. And I'm excited to see if Johnson's gonna form winning habits. I feel like he's someone that doesn't really force the issue. That's what I like about Keldon Johnson out there on the basketball floor. But maybe I would like to see him take a step when it comes to shot creation, become a three-level scorer. He could attack the basket. He could thrive off of catch and shoot, but become more efficient, like creating, shooting jump shots off the dribble. I feel like that's maybe where he should take his game to the next level. He's shown some flashes when it comes to creating for others, but can you do that consistently as well? And what I love so much about Keldon Johnson also, yes, he's only 6'6" when it comes to the power forward position, but he plays bigger than that out there on the floor, especially on the defense side of the basketball. I talked about his positioning with his size, and when I mean his size, I don't mean just his height. I mean, just like this dude's literally built like a brick house, and on defense, he is so technically sound. He has very good fundamentals on that side of the ball. He doesn't reach, he doesn't gamble too much, and when he does jump the passing lane, it just literally to perfection, and he uses his strength to try to keep up with guys in the post and position himself as well. Like, he doesn't always go for that home run play on defense, but he'll give you a chase down block at times because he is an athletic freak out there, or a solid athlete. Maybe I'm overrating his athleticism, but he has had some crazy dunks for sure in a Spurs uniform. And if you watched him at Kentucky. And then another player that I'm excited to see is Josh Primo. Josh Primo, the youngest player coming out of the last year draft class of 2021, coming out of Alabama. It was a huge shock when he went top 20 or when he went in the first round. Some people had him going in the second round. Some people had him going way later. And youngest player in the league last year, youngest player coming out of that draft class. And I'll say this, Josh Primo's skill set, I feel like looked way better than someone that was 18 years old entering the league, and I feel like his ability to adapt to the game or read the game, his basketball IQ is way ahead of the curve for someone that is that young as well. He had games that it looked like, wow, this dude's not 19 years old. Eventually he turned. Like, he doesn't look like a rookie. And then he had games like, yeah, he looks like a rookie there. That was not the best of shot in the world, you know? And yes, you look at his numbers, you look at the efficiency, you look at the free throw percentage or the 3-point percentage, you're like, this dude isn't a great shooter. When he was on, he could knock it down. There was games he wasn't afraid of the big moment, and I feel he doesn't carry himself like he's young. He's a high level of maturity out there on the floor, but I do believe his touch is better than his percentages, and I feel he's gonna become a more efficient shooter from beyond the arc. And it's not just like some people may just think, oh, he's missing shots, he's not a great 3-point shooter, but his body's still changing as well. He's getting older. Maybe he has to put on more muscle. Like, adjusting from the college 3-point line to the NBA 3-point line is different for everyone, especially when you take a look at the age. And some people played overseas, and then you go over to the NBA 3-point line, there's not much of a change. There's still an adjustment period, except when it comes to the corner, I believe, but Primo has shown the ability to create for others, underrated athleticism. I like the way he gets that floater. Sometimes he would take floaters from freaking like near free throw territory. And Josh Primo, I feel, does have some ways to go when it comes to defense. He has shown some solid games on the defense side of the basketball, but I think it just comes down to experience. I think it just comes down to matchups, what he could do defensively. Can he gamble against certain types of personnel? You know, the timing of closeouts, because some guys just get their shot off so fast. But we'll see what happens with Primo in a bigger role. He's going to be thrown in the fire more, at least in my opinion, this upcoming season. I'm excited to see what Josh Primo does. He has to prove himself, obviously. That's why I like, again, this young core. There's a mystery. Will he take that leap? Will he not? Did the Spurs make a mistake drafting him kind of early? You know, a lot of people thought it was a reach during that time, but solid hesitations, solid handle. And he's going to be starting at that 2 position next to Tre Jones. And I feel Tre Jones is the perfect player to play alongside. Tre Jones knows his role. I don't think he'll ever be a star or some fantastic player. I just think he'll be a very steady point guard that runs the show, makes the extra pass, reads defenses very well out there, runs the pick and roll to perfection, you know. Does a good job getting down the lane, distributing the ball, picking guys' pockets. And then when you take a look at the rookies, you know, for this San Antonio Spurs roster as well, just interesting group of guys. Interesting group of guys. So I'm going to be starting off with Notre Dame guard Blake Wesley. You look at his efficiency, only shot 40% from the field, was atrocious from beyond the arc, shot under 35%. And I'm not comparing him to Jaden Ivey, but he's kind of like a lighter version of Jaden Ivey. And I mean lighter, like not as good, because you watch him in the summer league. High intensity, high motor, can get down the lane. He can just yam it on anyone. I do have fear of his lack of touch out there on the floor and lack of feel. I don't think his feel's as good as Jaden Ivey's coming out. And you may think skinny guard, he's similar to a John Morant or similar to an Ivy. Yes, when it comes to his motor, his ability to get to the basket, his athleticism, I definitely agree. But when it comes to making the right reads out there on the floor, they're all three not the best of shooters in the world. And I feel if he wants to stay in the league or have a role under Greg Popovich and run the offense, if it's in the second unit or just because when this is what is a part of being a bad basketball team, that you'll get an opportunity at some point. It's like, all right, we're experimenting. But then Greg Popovich has also been in the league for such a long time. He still may be trying to win, but I feel like he's done a good job adapting, like giving these guys winning habits or teaching them winning habits. There's still a proper structure. He's not really all over the place, but I feel he will be given an opportunity. But when it comes to a physicality standpoint, how will he match up? Shooting the basketball, how much of an improvement will he have? And how many minutes will he get with his lack of consistent basketball IQ? He's shown he can make reads, but can he do it on a consistent basis? And now next up, this guy is actually one of my favorite players, like coming out of the 2021 NBA draft class. I'm not saying he was one of the best, but Jeremy Sochan, forward out of Baylor. You watch Jeremy Sochan play, high motor, team player. And I actually made the comparison to Draymond Green. I'm not saying he's going to have a Draymond Green impact, and Spurs are going to win multiple NBA championships with him. And Draymond Green is, I feel a lot of people just look at Draymond Green's stats, but you just look at the leadership, look at the ability to make the extra pass, be a ball handler at that size, fantastic defensive player, could snag rebounds, guard multiple positions. Sochan, I think, can do that, though. Maybe I am kind of underestimating Jeremy Sochan, but he's a very solid athlete. I think he's overrated in that department, but what I see Draymond-esque with him is he has the ability to snag a rebound or force a turnover and then create offense on the other end. Snag a rebound, transition, make the right read, or take coast to coast, throw it down. And he can guard like multiple positions with his strength, with his wingspan. He also just seems like a funny dude. The whole Westbrook thing, people thought he was throwing shade, or maybe he was when he said Westbrook. I don't know if he really meant to say that, but he was laughing about it, and it was funny all over Twitter, the amount of people that were attacking him. So he has the ability to play make for others, make very nice reads. He has that point forward type of potential, snag, rebound, get out in transition and kill you, but he's an awful shooter. He shot 50% from the free throw line. He was awful from beyond the arc. He lacks touch, but he does a good job adjusting when it comes to finishing at the basket. He'll recognize someone's trying to block him on one end and then use the rim backboard for protection on the other end as well. But when it comes to a motor perspective or when it comes to his motor, when it comes to him being a great teammate, just giving it his all, I think he's going to be a very highly impactful player. He literally does so many things well, except maybe shoot the basketball, and maybe his ball handling, he needs to tighten that up. But I really do like Jeremy Sochan, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do for the San Antonio Spurs, especially because we didn't see him in Summer League due to injury. Next up, Malaki Branham. And there's another player we're going to be getting into, don't worry. Malaki Branham, someone I really liked coming out of Ohio State. A lot of people were high on Johnny Davis coming out of Wisconsin, but I had a higher grade on Malaki Branham. And I'm a Knicks fan. I run a Knicks channel, Clutch B-Ball TV. You could check it out if you want. And I liked Branham's shot creation more. I liked his upside more. He was only 18 years old, coming out of Ohio State. Very young player. But when you watch his skill set, he's a professional scorer of the basketball. He shot it very well from the outside. Low volume. That's kind of what held people back from drafting him in the lottery. But he's a mid-range assassin. He knows how to get to his spots. Triple threat. Does a good job protecting the basketball. Pump fakes. Posting guys up. Creating separation. He's not the best of athlete in the world, but he makes up for it with his basketball IQ, his ability to create separation off the bounce, little step backs. He's shown he's not afraid of the big moment, even though I do think he is a sneaky athlete. And it's like, maybe he's a little undersized. He's 6'5". He's not crazy strong, and he does lack defensive discipline. That's maybe one of the main reasons people did like Johnny Davis over him. Davis, you could say maybe maybe a better, well-rounded player because of the defense and the potential shot creation of mid-range. Even though we saw him really struggle in the summer league, it's just summer league though, so I'm not going to completely hold that against him. Jitters, adjusting to the line, and all that. But I was impressed with Branham. I was impressed with him in college. But when it comes to defending pick and rolls, he can get mixed up when it comes to navigation or moving around the screens, or just doesn't really have the best of awareness. But pretty damn long wingspan for someone that's 6'5". I believe he has like a 6'10", 6'11" wingspan. Plays hard. Seems like a humble dude. And the Spurs always draft high character individuals. Even actually Luka Samanic wasn't really the highest character individual. Not that he's a bad person, but work ethic, motor. When it came to the San Antonio Spurs, if it's playing for the Austin Spurs or even the Spurs main roster, you heard the same thing with the Westchester Knicks. When the Knicks went on to acquire him, he didn't even end up playing a game for the New York Knicks. But Branham can get to his spots. He's a killer. I love what he's capable of doing. Playmaking, how's that going to be? And then finally, Devin Vassell, not a rookie, but Devin Vassell is one of my favorite players. He's someone that I wanted when it came to the 2020 NBA draft class. I'm okay with Obi Toppin. Stuck in an interesting situation with Julius Randle. Vassell out of Florida State. I feel like Florida State always produces these mentally tough basketball players. Jonathan Isaac, mentally tough. And on top of that, defense as well. Scotty Barnes, solid defensive player. High motor. I like Dwayne Bacon coming out. He showed some solid moments defensively as well. And even Malik Beasley, solid player coming out of Florida State, mentally tough. He has gone through some things. But you take a look at Devin Vassell. He didn't pop, like his stats didn't jump off the page at you. Averaged 12 points per game. His efficiency shot like 42%. Shot 36% from three. I thought was pretty impressive. I like his mechanics, his ability to get a shot off. And he's an underrated mid-range shooter as well. I'd like to see him become more efficient, not just getting to the basket, but finishing at the basket. But he's good length. Like, they drafted guys with good length throughout these last few years. Keldon Johnson, solid wingspan. You have Sochan, long wingspan. Branham has a pretty long wingspan. Vassell, long wingspan as well. He's a one hell of a defender, brings tons of energy as an on-ball defender, very disruptive. He could read the passing lanes very well. He's very mature for someone coming out of Florida State because they don't really look at you as an NBA prospect at Florida State. They're just trying to win. This isn't like some Coach Calipari, John Calipari type of situation that he's trying to mold you for the NBA. No. Florida State, they're just trying to win with you, but he can shoot the three ball. He's a very solid athlete out there on the floor. He's mentally tough. He has shown to have very good games for the Spurs last year. And another year with Keldon Johnson, I think is going to be awesome for him. They've built very solid chemistry and just unselfish, very aware players on the Spurs roster that I'm excited to see. There's a lot of uncertainty, big time question marks, but I'm excited to see their growth throughout the season. I'm not going to be able to watch every single game. Like, I do go back, watch games when they're on replay, or I find websites of replays of games. When they're on ESPN, obviously I'm going to catch them. But when the film releases, like on NF, all those awesome YouTube channels like that, check it out. I do watch every single shot they took and the shots when the ball's moved to them, what do they do with the ball. Even on misses, I'm not just someone that goes off the highlights. I could be like, oh, this dude struggled, or no, he looked amazing in highlights. So he's a beast. Like, everyone looks good in highlights. At the end of the day, you could look up Anthony Bennett highlights, but let me know down below, how many games do you think the Spurs are going to win? Are you excited for this young core? I don't know. I just like something about a mystery of a young core. Spurs, a lot of people are saying they're not going to be that great. I think they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league personally, but they have Greg Popovich there. But they also had Greg Popovich there last year. They made it to the play-in, but DeJounte Murray was playing like an all-star. If they want to be competitive, be in the play-in, Keldon Johnson will have to play like an all-star. Maybe you could say he's another year away. Do you think he can be an all-star type of player? And do you think they're going to end up with Victor Wembanyama, Scoot Henderson? Let me know down below your thoughts. Thank you so much for tuning in. Peace out, y'all.